Start with a sensitive legal dance that is playing out in public view between Robert Mueller's team and the President of the United States. Rudy Giuliani tells NBC News what he expects to happen now that they've answered the special counsel's written questions. The AP reporting this morning on what they call the long and tortured road to this moment. But that's not all. The man who could quite literally have the final say on the Mueller probe is out with an extraordinary public rebuke of the president's latest criticism of the judiciary. NBC's Kelly O'Donnell is traveling with the president in West Palm Beach, Florida. Kelly, we've got some news on the Mueller front, but the president is tweeting at the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and about the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. What's he saying?
Pretty extraordinary, Ali, and a happy Thanksgiving to you. Good to be with you on this day. The president engaging in a way that we have come to expect for any political rival, any typical target of his in pop culture, American life. But we've never seen before this kind of a tweeted target at the Chief Justice. The president has been critical of John Roberts before, but this really rose to another level where the president had been critical of the work of the Ninth Circuit and referred to an Obama justice. And the Chief Justice was asked by the Associated Press for any comment. And in a rare public statement from John Roberts in this kind of a context, he released a statement that said that there are not judges who are Obama judges or Trump judges, basically trying to decouple judges from the president who appointed them to the federal bench, saying that their integrity stands apart from that. What we've seen from the president has been a sharp rebuke. Just today, he's saying Justice Roberts can say what he wants, but the Ninth Circuit is a complete and total disaster. It is out of control, has a horrible reputation, is overturned more than any circuit in the country, 79%, he alleges, and is used to get almost a guaranteed result. Judges must not legislate security, he goes on to say, and safety at the border or anywhere else. They know nothing about it and are making our country unsafe. That's a very serious allegation. Our great law enforcement professionals must be allowed to do their job. If not, there will be only bedlam, chaos, injury, and death. We want the Constitution as written. That's a very striking assessment from the president, accusing judges of somehow undermining national security. And certainly, in this case, the president is frustrated, beyond frustrated, boiling over, if you will, because he has policy ideas for the border, like asylum seekers and so forth. And at the same time, he is being thwarted by the courts, at least in this moment, and is taking his battle to Twitter, as he often does. But John Roberts is usually not the object of his fury. Ali?
Kelly, thanks very much for that reporting. Joining me now, Glenn Kirshner, a former federal prosecutor, and Robert Bianchi, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. Welcome to both of you. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for being with us. Glenn, let me start with you. I kind of think this is a big deal on two levels. One is the Chief Justice, who doesn't go out of his way to rebuke or criticize presidents. He has done it before with President Obama after a State of the Union address. But the president going back at him, the attack on the judiciary, which has been a hallmark of President Trump's presidency, continues with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. The undermining of the judiciary, I just think on a whole different level, we need to worry about how this president sees the makeup of this country.
Yeah, Ali, you know, I have mixed feelings about the Chief Justice weighing in and sort of engaging in the Twitter battle, so to speak. Anytime someone pushes back with things like truth and accuracy against these ridiculous assertions made by the president in his tweets, I think it's a good thing. But I think we could have seen that it would only inspire more nonsensical tweets from the president ratcheting up his attacks. And I'll tell you, Ali, in my 30 years as a prosecutor, I've appeared before hundreds of judges in federal courts, local courts, military courts, and civilian courts, as well as appellate courts and trial courts. And I have to tell you, I don't know any of their politics by virtue of all of the time we spent together in courtrooms. I don't know who appointed them unless I Google it. So I have seen over the course of the last 3 decades the independent judiciary playing itself out day in and day out. So these attacks are so ridiculous. I'm going to call them what they are. I'm glad the Chief Justice pushed back, but I now fear that we're going to be in this never-ending public relations battle.
It is definitely something one has to think twice about when engaging with the president. Robert, let's talk about the questions that have been submitted to Robert Mueller. The White House, we don't know anything from Robert Mueller because they don't tell us, and they keep this close to the chest. But the White House tells us they haven't answered any questions related to obstruction of justice. Clearly, Robert Mueller wants to know answers to those questions. So if the White House insists that they haven't answered questions, do we know if they were asked and not answered? And do we know if Robert Mueller has a different way of getting the answers he wants as to whether Donald Trump has obstructed the efforts to figure out what's going on with Russia in the election?
It's a great question. So listen, as defense attorney, if I were representing President Trump, I would not let him answer questions. From the minute of the Lester Holt interview going forward, we all shook our collective heads as lawyers saying, what are you doing? And that gets to the point. The president has already given statements. He continues to give statements to the media. He continues to tweet. Robert Mueller, in my opinion, my estimation, will ask so that he can say, hey, I tried to complete an investigation. I tried to give you an opportunity to explain yourself. You did not avail yourself of that. That's fine with me. I got ample evidence through all of the other cooperating witnesses. Right in front of you, you see here, Ali, is the prosecution's case and how they would put it together. When you have Flynn and Manafort and Gates and Cohen and Weisselberg, and now we have McGahn all cooperating. They don't need those statements. Would they love to have it? Yeah. But what lawyer in their right mind is going to let the president speak about that? Not just the president, any client for that matter.
So that's interesting. Glenn, do you feel like the president's got enough? With all the people we hear about who are talking to Mueller, do you think that Mueller's got enough, that the president not asking questions like this? Because there are some key questions. Who wrote the statement about the meeting in Trump Tower? Do you think that Mueller's got what he needs?
You know, Mueller has more than enough based on his interviews and his grand jury appearances of all of the witnesses that he's dealt with, together with the president's tweets. Let's remember, every tweet that the president issues is at least some indication of his motive and intent. And, you know, you wonder if we should modify the Miranda warnings to say that anything you tweet can and will be used against you in a court of law. I do believe Mueller has more than enough to move forward, and I agree with Robert that this was really an exercise in showing the American people that the president had every opportunity to tell his side of the story, and he largely declined to do so.
Robert, what is the effect of the president talking about judges and the judiciary as the possibility exists of some sort of legal action against the president? Is this part of his technique, or is this just the bluster that the president has about everybody he doesn't agree with?
Yeah, I agree with every comment that Glenn had made. And while it may be the institution of the judiciary is bigger than Donald Trump's tweets and criticisms. Every executive has pushed back against Congress and pushed back against the judiciary. Donald Trump just does it in a way that seems to agitate people. And while it's not good to have people deprecate the institution of the judiciary, I agree with Glenn. In all the years I've tried cases in state and federal court, as a chief county prosecutor, as a defense lawyer, no one in there is saying, are you a Democratic judge or Republican judge? When I was appointed by a Democratic governor, there were others that were appointed by Republican governors. These are not the conversations that go on. So my only concern about Donald Trump's statements are the people that just take these statements hook, line, and sinker and will no longer respect law enforcement and the judiciary. And Ali, last point. Each one of those institutions has its problems. We're all failed as human beings in some level or another. So there's always something to improve. But to attack whole cloth, I think the Chief Justice should stay away from going
Constructive criticism is one thing, an attack is another. Guys, thanks very much. Robert Bianchi, Glenn Kirshner, thanks very much, and happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thank you.
You too, Ali.